Where were you when Tadej Pogacar won his 100th career victory? On site here in Rouen, stage 4 of the 2025 Tour de France. And yes, it's Tadej today collecting the glory, collecting stage victory in the 4th stage of this year's edition, beating out Mathieu van der Poel in the yellow jersey, beating out Jonas Vingegaard to collect that 100th victory. A string of victories that started way back in 2019 with the Volta Algarve. Then he went on to the Tour of California, winning Mont Baldi, and late into that season, those 3-stage wins and the green jersey in the Vuelta a España. Not too many people were keeping an eye on him then, but now the whole world is watching. He's got the rainbow jersey, so he's easy to spot, and he's got 3 Tour de France victories to his name, and this year he's hunting a 4th. And this year, he just claimed his first stage victory of the 2025 edition. The race still led by Mathieu van der Poel, who took over the lead in stage 2. To get to Rouen today, well, we had around about 170 kilometers on tap, and these 5 categorized climbs, all coming in the final 50 kilometers of the stage. We had an escape of 4 riders formed by Lenny Martinez, who shot up the road, and the last rider to join the escape was Casper Asgreen, former Flanders winner and stage winner in the Giro d'Italia this season. Lenny Martinez would then go on to be the final one to remain from that escape, but all attention was back there on the favorites group as the riders this morning were letting us know it was going to be a battle for the GC stars, especially with classic star Mathieu van der Poel wanting to get his 2nd stage victory and a victory wearing the Maillot Jaune, the yellow jersey of race leader. It wasn't to be, but let's look at how it unfolded. Lenny Martinez was swept up. Back behind, we saw a crash that involved Remco Evenepoel's teammate, Valentin Perez. So let's hope he's okay, because he's going to be needed when we get to the Pyrenees. Before that, when we get to stage 10, Mont d'Or, the riders back behind, well, they were being led at this point. Earlier in the day, they were being led by Alpecin, but at this point is Visma Lease Bike taking control with Victor Campenaerts, the TT specialist, the solo escape rider, power gun, who was brought to Visma Lease Bike to do this sort of thing, leading in to the climbs, leading in, handing things over after a massive pull, handing things over to Tish Benoit over the 2nd last climb, then handing things over to Tish Benoit as they headed right into that final climb with the 15% gradient. Tish Benoit didn't do much work. They made that right-hand turn, and then bam, UAE was back in control as it was in control early in the day when we saw Tim Wellens get up the road to add a point to his polka dot jersey. Tim Wellens was there, also Narvaez, but key today was João Almeida. Yeah, the Portuguese superstar was leading things out, setting things up for Tadej Pogacar as we headed into 6 kilometers to go, and then crucially right there when it was getting the steepest, 5.5 kilometers to go, the world champion lights things up and no one else could follow. No one but Jonas Vingegaard, 2-time Tour de France champion, marked Tadej as much as he could. He's been working on his kick in these years, stuck with Tadej, then was distanced. I don't think Tadej knew it, and he hung there, and right before the top, right at the top, 5 kilometers to go, the power duos back together. They're trading a couple of pulls, and back behind, desperate Remco Evenepoel is pulling things back together. Doing so, he's also bringing up Mathieu van der Poel and bringing up João Almeida, which would be crucial for Tadej's 100th victory. We'll note Primoz Roglic was distanced further back, adding on to the time he lost the other day. We spoke with him at the bus afterwards, and he said, well, look, I'm just happy to stay upright, and I want to get to Paris. I haven't been there in a while. And I said, Primoz, the Eiffel Tower's still there. And he said, oh, yeah? Well, yeah, he's got to get there for himself to make sure it's still there, along with the Arc de Triomphe when we get to stage 21. But back to stage 4 and the action that was happening. Remco Evenepoel pulls things back together. He does a little dig, and then Matteo Jorgensen, that big unit, makes a dig of his own, almost stays clear, powers through the final turn, but João Almeida, as I said, Remco Evenepoel brought back João Almeida in that group, and he was setting things up for Tadej Pogacar, who was right there with Mathieu van der Poel. João Almeida delivered, and João celebrated with Tadej when he threw his arms up in the air to get that 100th career victory. Things were kind of scattered back behind. It was Remco Evenepoel losing about 3 seconds on the day. He's not too bothered with it because we have the TT on tap tomorrow. And we have a chance for Remco Evenepoel to get a stage victory as he did last year in the TT, but today it was all about Tadej Pogacar throwing down the hammer, his hot favorite coming into this Tour de France after that string of one-day wins earlier on this spring from Strade Bianche all the way through to Liège-Bastogne-Liège. We won't fault him for not getting the victory in Milano-San Remo and Paris-Roubaix, races he desperately wants to win, and I'll have to look at those in his future. But right now it's focused on the Tour de France, and it's Tadej Pogacar celebrating here in Rouen, a power-packed day filled with 5 massive climbs in the day. Getting into this final, we should mention Oscar Onley, the British rider from Picnic Post NL, did a great ride out there today. And again, Matteo Jorgensen did a great ride. We saw the riders cooling down over there at the bus. I followed them to the bus after picking up João Almeida here on the finish line. Oscar Onley, then made our way down, got Primoz Roglic. Then we saw over there at the Visma Lease bike camp, it was Matteo Jorgensen cooling down, talking with Wout van Aert. All of those guys on their TT bike getting used to that position. And our 2-time Tour de France champion, the Dane, cooling off on his TT bike. After he was finished, he came over to us and explained everything that was going on. He said he felt really good with the day, and you can see it with Jonas. He's got that kick back. Last year, due to that injury in the Basque Country, he came into the Tour de France. It was his first race day. This year, he had just a little minor crash in Paris-Nice. Came back to racing in the Dauphiné, showed he was ready, but not at the level of Tadej Pogacar. Then we made our way down to Remco Evenepoel, who spoke about his good ride today. He said he was pretty pleased with it. He didn't mention Valentin Perepintre and his crash, but he mentioned that his crash didn't affect him today, the crash that he suffered in stage 3, and he's looking ahead to the TT tomorrow. But today, after 2019, after Algarve and Mount Baldy in the Tour of California, those first initial wins, well, we've come a long way since 2019, and he's racked up many victories. And today in Rouen, stage 4 of the 2025 Tour de France is Tadej Pogacar on top, career victory 100.